Hello there, and welcome to the Path to Better A1C podcast. I am your host, Jenny Pena, National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach and Diabetes Prevention Program Lifestyle Coach, and always bringing a little bit of science, a little bit of strategy, something that can help you on your journey, better A1C levels, more energy, control those cravings, and prevent diabetes. And today I have a special episode. I'm super excited about having Bryan Butler here with us, and we are going to have an amazing conversation. And I'm going to let him introduce himself. Just grab your drink of choice and enjoy. Thank you, Bryan, for joining.
Thank you so much, Jenny, for having me. Pleasure to be on your podcast and to be able to talk a bit with you and to your audience. And we met not too long ago, actually, just random happenstance on Instagram. I think we follow some similar people, mutual follow that we have Andy DeSantis
Yes,
in
yes.
Canada, and I had him on
Which
as a
I will
guest.
recommend everybody to follow. He brings a lot of great information around diabetes, and especially if you have fatty liver
Fatty
disease.
liver. Yep.
So that's where I actually send most of my clients to follow. If they want to follow an account that is legit, that shows the science, definitely follow Andy DRD, I think is his handle. So I'll
Hmm.
actually put it in the show notes. Really good
Cool.
account to
Yeah,
follow.
I am a designer, graphic designer, and brand designer by training. My experience with health and wellness is more from a personal perspective. In high school, I was 400 pounds and had some chronic issues, more physical ailments that made mobility and exercise and things like that really challenging. And it wasn't until I think the end of high school me and my parents were exploring some options to try and fix things. I had a foot issue that was just giving me problems, and based on the knowledge we had at the time, surgery seemed like a good option. And so we went that route. But the doctor was like, "Hey, in order to improve your quality of life long term, like you need to lose weight for sure." I was 17 at the time, and so it was like, okay, all right, so how am I going to go about this? At that particular time, I had no idea. I mean, healthy eating was like, okay, I'm going to eat veggies, and that's about it. And so I remember there were times where I would have like romaine lettuce and chunked pineapple. It wasn't enjoyable, but it was special. And I know a lot more than now than I did back then. But I was able to lose a significant amount of weight um, early on. Probably went from 400 to about 275, was in that range, 275 to 250 for many years, but it definitely changed the quality of my life, and kind of set me on a trajectory of being more mindful of how I steward the body that I've been given. So,
That's amazing. That's amazing. And that is such an accomplishment because I mean, I have contracting job and I work with individuals that usually use GLP-1s to lose weight, but it's through a company that actually makes it a requirement to go through coaching so that they
mm,
actually incorporate those habits. And I'm curious because is that a great accomplishment? Now, what do you feel was the most challenging thing to embrace or a habit that maybe was very challenging?
the most challenging part of it was the mindset shift. So before you take any action, there has to be a switch that goes off in your brain to say, okay, well, now I need to do things differently than I've done in the past. And I need to start viewing myself or thinking about myself differently than I have. And so that is the precursor, but maintaining that can be really challenging as well. Because depending on your circumstance, guys lose weight differently than women. And
Mhm.
then you can have environmental factors that are at play as well. And something that's often not talked about is the social and familial factors that may be at play. And so when I first started, like my parents were on board with me losing weight, but then you get to a certain point and people are used to seeing you a certain way, and they start making comments saying, "Oh, if you lose any more, you're going to be too skinny." And so I even had to navigate some of that with family and friends. Jokes about me changing the way that I eat, or once I got down to a certain point, they're like, "Well, you're just going to be too small." I'm like, no, you're used to seeing me at this bigger size. I'm not where I need to be yet. And so navigating that was its own challenge, and that was over the course of years. But then other stuff too, just change your lifestyle, be more active, be more mindful about what you eat. Well, for me in particular, it started early and is evolved over the years. So this has been over 20 years now that I lost the majority of the weight. And then I lost some more during COVID. But in the Bible, in the book of Romans, it talks about being transformed by the renewal of your mind.
Mhm.
And that's talking in a particular way about how we view ourselves in relation to God and how he views us in comparison to how the world views us. But it also has application to all the little aspects of our lives as well. So how do I think about the food? How do I think about myself affects how I put what food I put in my body, activity levels, what do I put in my mind, etc. And all of those are important in making a big lifestyle change that improves your physical health.
Yes, and it's interesting how you mentioned the social pressure, because that is something that people, when they're diagnosed with diabetes, one thing that a lot of the clients complain about is like their spouses are over them. Are you supposed to eat that? You're not supposed
Mm,
to eat that. Like
mm-hmm.
they become either too controlling, or if you grab a cookie, it doesn't matter. It's just
Right.
one day. So there's always like that pendulum. Either they're pushing that food that you're trying to please like help me keep my boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
or they're just all over trying to put those very extreme rules, right? And
Yep.
it is tough. And it is tough. And actually, like early on this year, I had a podcast episode talking about that. What can you actually do as
Mm,
a spouse, a son, daughter, brother, sister, friend, when you know that that significant other for you, somebody that is your friend, your family, was diagnosed with diabetes? What are great ways of giving support without being like that annoying person in the in the
mm-hmm.
background? And that sometimes they experience. And then even the social aspect of going out, going to a restaurant, like asking for accommodations. A lot of people are very hesitant about that. They feel that,
Right.
oh, am I
Right.
being a nag with the waiter if I say, like, can I just have this steamed, or can I swap this side? So
Mm-hmm.
those are things that are very real, not just for people with diabetes, but I feel everybody that is trying to improve their health. Society not always supports like a healthy lifestyle, and you have to almost be your personal advocate. So that's amazing. So now, what is that one thing that you changed that you feel like, oh my God, I never thought that I was going to genuinely enjoy this? Because I have had clients in the past that would say, I was never into exercise. And then all of a sudden, now they're like Zumba champions. They love going to their Zumba classes, right? Or like they will find something that they didn't even envision that they would actually embrace and genuinely see themselves doing it for the rest of their life. Is there anything that you feel like, wow,
Um, I think, I mean, the bigger change was it was food related because I enjoyed activity. I just wasn't able to do it much in high school. Um, and then once I got the weight off and recovered from the surgery and things like that, I got back into martial arts and other stuff like that as a young adult. And so that aspect of things I've always enjoyed, but I didn't appreciate that as I modified how I ate. Like something I did during the pandemic, I tracked my calories and things like that for the first time because I run from that. And I was like, there's no way, I don't need to do that. But I kind of plateaued. And I also became more mindful of like sugar intake.
mhm,
And a surprise to me was how flavorful foods I thought were fairly bland became when I reduced artificial sugar. And I was like, "Oh, these vegetables actually have a lot more flavor than I thought they did,"
mhm,
because my
mhm,
palate adjusted. And so that was I think, a really pleasant surprise, just how good foods in their natural states and, fruits, veggies,
mhm.
nuts, seeds, things like that have a lot more flavor if I'm not constantly, pounding my taste buds with hyper palatable food.
And that's why it's so good to try to eat the foods closer to their natural state as the
Mhm,
least processing, just because when they're processed, they need to add either salt or sugar
mhm,
to preserve, right? And it's just a
mhm,
manufacturing thing. So you have to be mindful of that. And also the fact that even things that are not sweet, that doesn't mean that they don't have added sugar.
mm, mhm,
Sometimes they do have the sugar. There's a lot of sauces and a lot of different things that are savory, but you think that, oh, there's no way this doesn't need sugar. And actually, when you look at the labels, there
Mm-hmm.
is sugar in there. And that trains the palate to look for that. And then
Yeah.
when you take it out, you realize, oh, wait a minute, I didn't know carrots were so sweet. That was
Mm-hmm.
like one of the things that I realized when I started kind of cutting on the added sugar and
Mm-hmm.
getting more of the natural stuff. Wow, that's amazing. Now, how has that impact your calling, your life? Talk to me a little bit about your podcast and like what are you envisioning to bring out in the world and bring awareness?
So I started my podcast, which is called The Odyssey of a Former Fat Kid. I started it in August, actually, 2025. And it is, I think, like an outgrowth or the extension of like a shift I made in my business a few years ago. So during the pandemic, everybody gets locked down, COVID's hitting, it's serious. But then I became more aware of the populations, not, the elderly, understandably, but then there were a lot of younger folks, who were getting really sick. And it was just brought to my attention just how important, how significant comorbidities are especially in related to COVID, how it increased your risk of, serious illness and death. And so I started paying more attention to that, and obviously having my journey with weight loss and things. And you always got to get your labs checked as well. I didn't want to go back to school to get a nutrition license and pivot my whole career, but I figured, as I started to talk to different health professionals and interact with different health entrepreneurs, a number of them are highly trained, obviously in their respective fields, but they don't know good aesthetic design. They don't know brand building. They don't know marketing. And so I can take my expertise, build on it some more, and then look to serve health and wellness professionals to help them build better brands so they can help more people become better stewards of their bodies. And I focus on people who are working with mental health, physical health, and also include spiritual health, because we can't separate that out from it, because we are holistic, body and soul. And so working with Christian organizations that also focus on mentorship and discipleship, especially with young people, I think is really important, and being able to bring all those facets together. So with the podcast, my goal is to have conversations with people like yourself and provide tips and insights, one, for building a sustainable brand, because you built one yourself. And so being able to talk to the professionals and say, hey, what's worked for you? What experiences have you learned? And what can somebody who's listening to, this podcast, who has their own business or wants to start one, learn from you? And then the second part is everyday people who are seeking to improve their mental, physical, or spiritual health. They can listen to you all as well and gain some tips, and also provide opportunities for listeners to be able to connect directly with you all so they can work with you as well. So that's my overall goal for the podcast, is another way to help connect people with pros that can help them improve in those three key areas, and then also help more pros build stronger businesses so they can help more people.
And I love that you're connecting and seeing people as a whole, because even as a diabetes prevention specialist, a lot of people focus so much on what they eat, and that
Hmm.
is important, but that's not the only factor.
Right.
And a lot of my clients, sometimes they have high demanding jobs, back to
Hmm.
back meetings, and there's a lot of stress. There is not that much sleep. And
Yep.
when they start uncovering how those can be triggers, even if they spend time going to the gym and eating balanced meals, if they don't balance that other area, if they don't build those social connections, and if they don't find that spirituality to balance themselves out, sometimes their blood sugar levels don't decrease and they don't
Hmm.
understand why. And it's because it's just a combination. It's like a puzzle, and you need to balance all the pieces together in
Hmm.
order to just see that positive result. So I love that you're doing that work, and I will definitely put all the information for Bryan in the description notes so everybody's going to be able to connect with you. But if you were to give one piece of advice, because weight loss is daunting for all of us, not just
Hmm.
diabetics, pre-diabetics, even though that seems to be one of the common markers, right? Like a
Hmm.
lot, not everybody that is diabetic is overweight or obese, but
Right.
most of them do have to lose weight, and it becomes harder with the insulin resistance and all of that. And I know you also mentioned mindset. What is a one tip with your experience as a young man, husband, like that, have gone through this journey and have been able to maintain it, which is one of the hardest things? A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people can find ways, sometimes not a healthy way, but find ways of losing weight,
Mm-hmm.
but maintaining it and keeping that balance, that is actually even a bigger challenge, I believe. But what would
Mm-hmm.
be that one piece of advice that you would want to leave the audience with?
One piece. I think it's twofold.
Okay.
One, what you eat is of significant importance, but enjoy what you eat. Whatever that looks like for you, make sure you enjoy it.
Yes.
And then the other aspect of it, which is something I didn't really appreciate and learn enough about until a few years ago, is we talk about weight loss, and that can be important, but I think a necessary part of the conversation that should always be included is when you talk about weight loss, you need to be specific about fat loss, not muscle loss. Because if you're aiming for weight loss, then you will do stuff that jeopardizes your muscle. And as Jenny can tell you,
Mm,
loss of
yep.
muscle will decrease your metabolic health.
Yep.
And so focus on really maintaining muscle and aiming for fat loss, not weight loss. And sometimes the scale's not going to move that much if you're putting on muscle but losing fat, but you're getting healthier and stronger and you're going to feel better.
Mhm. And that's something that is so hard sometimes for clients to embrace. When
Mm-hmm.
they see that the scale is moving, it's like it's moving very slow. And I'm like, well, slow and steady is actually better. It means that
Mm-hmm.
you're losing weight in the healthier way without losing tons of muscle mass,
Mm-hmm.
because that can definitely impact your metabolism and all these other things. It's actually a good thing that is going like that is going slow. And it's funny that you mentioned the vegetables and how to enjoy food, because I always put that example about, okay, if you hate broccoli, please do not eat broccoli. There are too many vegetables out there. Keep experimenting until you find things that you enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
because the trick is not to do it for 1 month or 2 months. The trick is to find ways that you're going to enjoy your food and you can see yourself doing whatever it is that you're doing for the rest of your life. Can you see it as something that you can embrace as a complete lifestyle change versus I'm just going to do this for a couple of months?
Mm-hmm.
So I love those tips. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of like random questions, like
Okay.
at the end that are fun, like
Lightning round. Okay.
lightning round. So, what is that morning routine that you swear by, that you keep every day? Ah,
um, my kids are young, but what I am working on is getting to bed at a good time so that I can get up and have a good 10 to 15 minutes. Doesn't need to be long, 10 to 15 minutes to start off reading my Bible and in prayer. Um, that's paramount. Like that's what I'm aiming for, the morning routine. And then after that, the kids get up and connecting with them and getting everybody ready for school and getting out
yep.
the door and stuff like that or whatever. But that's the routine that I'm working on. Bed at a good time and then up to give myself a few minutes of quiet time with the Lord in the morning.
Awesome, awesome. Favorite snack when you have that 3 p.m. slump and you need some energy?
I mean, I would say my favorite snack in general is peanut butter, but I go with peanut butter that is organic and no sugar added.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and even again, another one of those shifts. You stop eating the really sugary stuff and develop a taste for that, and you're like, "This is amazing. I don't need
Mm-hmm.
all the extra stuff." So that's definitely my favorite snack. Sometimes a protein bar in the afternoon if I get a slump. But
Where can people connect with you? Share like where they should go if they want to connect with you. Maybe follow your podcast.
so website is, and all this will be in the description as well,
Mhm.
but bryanbutlerstudio.com, on Instagram and LinkedIn. I'm at Bryan Butler Studio. And then the podcast is on YouTube under Bryan Butler Studio. And then on Instagram at The Odyssey of a Former Fat Kid.
So I will definitely put all the details on the description. But Ryan, thank you, because I know that a lot of women, we think about weight loss, we think about all these things, but having a young man, a gentleman, a father, a husband, and bringing that perspective and showing that it can be done, that there are things that you need to shift and change, but it can be done, and you're being able to maintain that weight loss, which is amazing. Thank you so much for coming over and sharing about your journey and what you
Thank you for having
do.
me.
And hopefully I'll get to have you sometime again in the future. Feel free to share in the comments if you have any questions, connect with Bryan. And until the next one, bye.